well, we'll see what happened. Let's go.
The license plate say traveler. Why did he send a card that had a picture that said ID and another picture that said insurance? If he's playing that game, why not go all the way? My ID. You want to see my ID? It should say my. Let me not say that before somebody go do that.
I don't know, because you messed up, because we have a large following. We actually have a lot of viewers, and somebody might pass it to somebody else.
Don't say you got it from me. That was your own. Listen, I just said why
you can't be incriminated for it, but again, for that, you should go all the way with it. Here, when I ask for your driver's license, here's driver's license. If that's not a license, let me see your ID. Another card, ID, an insurance card. Insurance card.
Right.
There you go.
You're playing these games.
You're going to get into it, commit yourself to it.
When you play games, you get prizes.
There you go.
This is.
That's how it is. Welcome to What Had Happened Was.
When we take a peek into actual court cases and give you commentary based on our unique perspective and experiences, and also give you informational tips and tricks to help you avoid a what had happened situation.
Before we get started, give us a thumbs up, a tasteful comment. Subscribe to the channel to be notified of every video as they come out. All defendants are considered innocent until proven guilty in a court of law.
Mr. Daly? What would you like?
So, Judge, two things. I've talked to Madam Prosecutor on this case, Judge, and I'm approaching on two things. One, bond statement, and PC on this case, Judge. She and I have already discussed it on this case, and we just both want you to hear the PC if we can, Judge.
Okay.
And then on the bond reinstatement as well, Judge. Right.
So officers initiated a traffic stop in Harris County, Texas for a vehicle having a fictitious plate bearing the word traveler on it.
Oh, man, here we go again.
Are you serious? He really just put a...
Welcome to What Had Happened Was. It is another case of a sovereign citizen, but this sovereign citizen actually has a lawyer. This is going to be interesting.
You think that they stopped making people like this?
I thought
but
so.
Obviously,
the factory's not shut down.
The factory is not shut down. I don't know where this factory is located.
I don't either.
Put what city you think this factory might be in. Some locations have more of these people than others. But I don't know where, maybe it's somewhere out, it's a big empty space somewhere, and people, and then they just drop them off in different places.
All I know is this factory's pandemic proof, because they're still popping up all over the place.
I didn't know people were still that ignorant.
I didn't either.
During the stop, the defendant refused to provide.
Traveler? Okay.
During the stop.
Even the judge has to laugh.
Yes.
Because he's like, that's amazing.
It's not just us.
The fact that you think that you were going to just do it and it was going to be okay.
Yes. He finds this ridiculous.
I could see if he had an actual license plate and maybe it got damaged in a way, he wrote like the actual number down.
Which you are actually allowed to do under the law. If you have a license plate in your car, and when you lose, say it's 2 and you lose 1, you can actually get a cardboard and write the, as best you can, put the state and put the actual number that was issued by the state. Because guess what? If any police officer runs that, it's going to pop up with an actual registration.
Well, I'm fancy, so I would laminate mine.
I didn't say calligraphy. I
would laminate mine, just so it wouldn't get wet. I would laminate mine.
But still, you actually under the law, if you have an actual registered car and you have your plate is missing or damaged, because they charge you for a new plate, but under the law, you can actually do that. Yes. Then you can write the state it was of issuance, the actual license plate that was issued by the state for that vehicle, and you are fine.
I think I might do one. I'm a craft one. I think I might craft one. Let's see. I don't know.
Let's see.
The defendant refused to provide ID or insurance information, stating.
The license plate say traveler. Why did he send a card that had a picture that said ID and another picture that said insurance? If he's playing that game, why not go all the way? My ID. You want to see my ID? It should say mine. Let me not say that before somebody go do
I
that.
don't know because you messed up because we have a large following. We actually have a lot of viewers, and somebody might pass it to somebody
Don't
else
say you got it from me. That was your own.
and use
Listen,
it.
I
You
just
can't-
said why
You
did
can't be
you?
incriminated for it, but again, for that, you should just go all the way with it. Here, when I ask for your driver's license, here's driver's license. It says that's not a license. Let me see your ID. Another card, ID, an insurance card. Insurance card.
Right.
There you
because,
go.
you're playing these
You're
games.
going to get into, commit yourself to it.
When you play games, you get prizes.
There you go.
This is.
That's how it is.
I do not consent to this. Officer attempted to remove the defendant from the vehicle and defendant actively resisted by pulling his arm away from deputies until he was detained.
Okay. Tell me what,
So we looked at, I'm sorry, Madam Prosecutor, the interference with duties of public servant, Your Honor. Even if my client is failing to give them that, then it is an arrestable offense. But in this situation, it is, Judge. However, in this particular situation, he didn't interfere with anything.
It's always interesting how these sovereign citizens never want to comply with the law.
And there are certain counties that will allow you to drive with just a permit because the transportation system, if it's not adequate enough, it's extremely rural area, you can drive with a permit, until you're able to get your license.
That's true.
But
They're still, when you do it, you're still law-abiding citizens.
And these are not rural areas that this is happening. This is like bigger cities, more metropolitan cities where this is happening, where the police force is intact.
I don't know.
No, but I'm saying where a lot
This is in Texas, excuse me.
Where a lot of this is going on, you have a lot of these things. You see that it's a lot of, but you're still driving without a license.
Correct.
You have a lot of people driving without a state issued form of identification,
Correct.
Because you can't. And once again, the whole issue is that if somebody gets hurt, nobody's gonna get hurt. That's when we went over the definition of an accident.
That's correct.
There's the whole reason why you have to have insurance and why they get on you by not having insurance.
I mean, they talk about the fact that insurance companies, they get you because they made it mandatory for you to have insurance for their pockets. But that may or may not be true. It's still a good idea. The fact that everywhere you go, you have to have insurance. Insurance is protection against loss. So you have insurance just in case something, Lord forbid, happens. You're protected, and the other injured party, they're protected as well. Or there's some sort of form of compensation that can be remunerated. It may not be what they want, but something is there in place to help medical assistance, compensatory damages, and in some cases, if they go to a lawsuit, punitive damages, which is still covered by the insurance company because that's the protection for you when this incident happens. And it's amazing. They never want to comply with it. They want to be outside the law. They want to be outside the law, but want you to respect their law.
But the whole thing with this is that insurance is like when you present your insurance, it's a way of showing that I'm a responsible person.
Right.
I didn't want anything to happen, but as if something does happen, I'm also being responsible. I'm
You're
trying
absolutely right.
As being as responsible as possible.
Yes, you are. Because you know what? Because even if you didn't have a license or a registration, the fact that there's insurance on the car shows something that even if something happened, it was still covered and they can still cover you. You'll pay for not having that license, but at least you showed you did something. You didn't do nothing. You did something. And that does, you're right, absolutely right. That shows you're responsible to some degree because you're still covered against something going wrong.
In terms of his own arrest, I can, if it was a resisting or something to that effect, I can.
they're just trying to get him out of the car.
I don't
And
disagree.
it's classic sovereign case where got the license plate, think that traveling by right is what I think how they term it.
In this situation, Judge, and the reason.
No one said you can't go anywhere, so they're
They did
using this
not.
definition of traveling. Which, if you want to go according to that system that was in place, then you need to be either in a wagon,
Yes.
a bicycle,
Right.
without a motor,
Yes.
walking,
Or on a horse
on a horse,
or donkey.
or donkey.
Or
So,
like-
or
or-
you can
or-
even be on a cow.
Cow. I was
You
gonna say,
could be even. You
or
could be
if,
even.
if you got a bull that's in
That will
control,
allow you to
allow
sit
you
on
to sit
it.
on his back, then you can go by that. But yeah, I agree.
But you cannot.
And the judges obviously has dealt with people like this before because he even knows the terminology.
They don't
Continue.
even want. Listen. Technically, it's illegal, like how people drive in the back of pickup truck. You know how they sit in the
Right.
back of it. That's
Mhm.
illegal because you don't have a seatbelt on, and anything
Correct.
happens,
Yes.
you can be seriously injured. So,
Yes.
what makes you think they're gonna say it's okay for you to get behind the wheel of a car and just I'm traveling?
I got this.
You can even go by spaceship because that's air or whatever.
That's true too. But yeah, but then you have to find out if it's legal. If it's legal.
Spaceship.
Yes.
I don't know if there's any traffic
No.
on the
You
spaceship.
still have to have re-entry. You have to go up into orbit and you have to re-enter.
Yeah.
You have to make sure if you can re-enter. Are you allowed to re-enter to that airspace?
Yeah.
Can you lawfully re-enter
Yes,
the airspace
yes.
once the ship goes up?
It becomes very complicated once
So,
you go into airspace.
it doesn't stop.
Yes. It does.
You know.
Yeah, I can see it getting complicated.
Yes, and the problem also with people with the seatbelt, I'm gonna tell everyone you gotta wear your seatbelts. Don't think I don't care how uncomfortable you find it or you don't like it. Wear your seatbelt. Wear your seatbelt. Wear your seatbelt.
I mean, I've heard stories of people that got into accidents and the purse had the seatbelt on and the person didn't.
Right. Listen, a police officer told me I happened to have a conversation. It was in a class I was going, and he explained to us as to how people they fail to realize that when you get into an accident and you're thrown, they're like, I want to get thrown from the car. I said, no, you don't. You don't want to get thrown from your car. People don't understand. When you get thrown from your car, the direction you're traveling in, your car's traveling right behind
They
you.
obviously haven't seen those cartoons that we used to watch. Because remember the
That was
cartoons?
not, yes.
You get thrown out the car and then the car comes and smashes the person.
Right.
And then they all both slide down
Right,
the street.
and
So I
that's-
don't know what cartoons
And
they
that's
were watching.
actually real.
So
They have films like, remember that movie, the movie from the
moving
80s,
violations.
Relations?
The name of the movie
Yes.
is called Moving
Yes,
Violations.
Blood on the Highway.
Yeah.
Like, it was, but it showed the reality of some of these things, and that is actually true.
I'm employing upon the court is, even from what Madam Prosecutor has seen on the video, they're pulling and tugging at his arm, which put my client in some fear. It was more than one officer. It was pretty.
But he still has a duty. If they're asking you to come out, they can lawfully do that. And there are videos, and go on YouTube, right? There are hundreds of videos where officers will literally destroy your car to get you out. When you get into a pissing match with a person who has the power of arrest, who's going to win, Mr. Daly?
We don't disagree, Your Honor.
Right. You know what I mean? That's real life.
We don't disagree, Your Honor.
So if you don't disagree, you agree.
Yes, you do.
So if you agree, then once again, let's go from the beginning, though. Back
Pause.
again.
What's the lawyer agreed.
A lawyer agrees.
He didn't agree at the
He
scene.
didn't agree with it.
No.
Because, first of all, he knew he was going to get stopped by having that written on his. Come on. There's a thing called setting yourself up for failure.
Yes, and he went through the whole playbook.
Because once again, what he's going to say that he's done this before. So, how many times have you done it? So I know how many tickets to write you. Oh, you wasn't there. Well, I'm bearing witness to this now. You said you do this all the time.
And if you admit to me how many times you did it, I can cite you for all the
Right.
times.
So you're
But you say you've done
confessing.
it. You're confessing. Yeah, it's a confession. And I can use, again, anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. That's why that said that. That's why that said.
I don't know. I have a license plate and a license. And insurance.
Yes,
So
I do too.
I think under the circumstances of what actually happened, it was not Mr. Daly's position to resist or to interfere. That was not. He was concerned for his safety at that point.
I can't see how he's so concerned for his safety, but you don't have a legitimate license plate, you don't have insurance, and you don't have a license.
Right.
So you're already.
So he wasn't concerned about the safety. Again, he was rolling the dice. And he knew it. It was a gamble, and he lost.
Yeah, so I don't know. You got to go play this. You got to
The
play
what?
a different table.
or a different slot machine, something.
And actually, I don't know. Did you hear that on the video? Right. And so in reviewing the video, it was pretty quick, pretty brash. They didn't give him an opportunity to respond per the prosecutor in this situation. It wasn't as if he was intentionally
Remember,
not.
this is just a mere probable cause.
Yes,
So,
I agree.
they ask you to come out of the car one time. Yeah, it's really, that's, so, I mean, I think that there's enough probable cause to go forward now. The problem is, Mr. Daly, is that we revoke your bond. Your bond is set at 2501, and you've continually failed to appear. So, the case and the way that you've treated us, it shows me that you just refuse to accept authority. How are we supposed to deal with that? How do we deal with that?
And then and then they wind up having to issue a warrant for him
Because his bond was revoked.
because your bond's revoked. Because your bond is revoked because you refuse to come in.
Right.
Because once again, the sovereign maneuver is to delay.
And not comply.
But once again, this might have worked before when there were judges that they really were like, this is a nuisance or whatever, and they threw it out of court.
Because it is a nuisance. It is.
Because they threw it out. But now, no.
Nope.
Now there's no paper they got to walk over from one court to another. They don't have to fax and wait for something to come in. It's all
push of a buttons. Communication age. And not only the communication age, it's now we're getting toward the epitome of a communication age. It's getting better and better, faster and faster.
Yeah, this is not like the old West where you had to wait for the judge to make his rounds, where he had to go through all the territories, whatever. So that this is why they had, you had to be quote unquote a law unto yourself,
which is absolutely
and you had to
true.
appoint a marshal, someone to keep law or whatever, because you just had people just doing all types of stuff. Because you was in a territory,
right? And it was, which means we're here and we're claiming this, but it's not a part of the actual country still. It was a territory. They didn't have no one out there. Like you said, the judges had to make their round. They go from
but also it's the same thing. Like you couldn't just sit there and if somebody bought their property, you can't just say, "Oh, this is my property now." You can't.
No.
Once again, there's still basic laws you had to adhere to.
Yes.
This is why they had to do that, even to have people just have you adhere to those basic laws.
Yes. And that's the problem. They don't want to adhere to the basic of laws, but want you to adhere to their understanding what they want to be. I want to do what I want to do and be left alone, and you should respect that.
Timberland?
Donner, the only reason I bring to your attention is I asked the court to take into consideration. We have a Black male works every day who, and I hate to put that on the court, but I do in this particular climate, that has never been in contact with any particular law enforcement court system. And from what I can see and what I hear out here from a lot of my Black male, and I'm sure it's common knowledge, is that because they are unfamiliar with the court system, they don't know, number one. Number two, when they do come in contact with police, and my mother is assistant chief of police. So
okay, and he's not familiar with the DMV either. There's a lot of people that have never been arrested, never been to court, never been anything, never had to do it, never even had to answer, haven't been to jury duty, anything. There's a lot of people that have never been. The only way they've ever seen the inside of a courtroom is on a TV show. Mm-hmm. They don't know anything about that. So, but once again, but they have license plates.
Mm-hmm. And guess what? Ignorance of the law is not an affirmative defense. That's not in this case. Ignorance of the law is not an affirmative defense. You cannot use that. I didn't know. It doesn't work anymore. That does not work.
Yeah, but
the fact that you don't know is no excuse. You know right from wrong. You know basically.
But he didn't know.
I'm sorry. You know basically the common right and wrong.
But he knew enough to write a traveler on a plate then.
Exactly.
So he knew enough to do something.
So he knew something. Exactly.
Well, I can understand even when I was younger, I was taught that there are certain things that you have to do with when a police officer even stop you on a speeding ticket. What we don't know is whenever these officers come up, when you're somebody who don't have the privilege of having a police officer as a parent or who isn't familiar and is being.
So there's a lot of people that don't have parents that are judges, lawyers, everything. Some people don't even have parents.
Right.
But they know,
exactly.
once again, you cannot write traveler on a piece of paper or cardboard or anything, print it out,
I'm sorry, I gotta go there.
engrave it.
Continue. Go ahead.
Unless that's your actual, unless it's registered with the DMV in your state or some other state, use that as a legitimate means of identifying your vehicle.
I'll go further. She was taught certain things, and she knows. She grew up with a parent who's part of law enforcement. Guess what? I didn't have a parent that was law enforcement. Did you?
No.
We still know the law and know to obey the law. And now I got to go there. Here's the disclaimer. I'm throwing the race card for purposes of this explanation. He is a black man in America, and black people.
He should have 2 licenses.
Black people, and black Americans, by custom, from being here for the last couple of hundreds of years, know and teach their children, hey, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, and don't do that, to keep from having to have any negative interaction with police.
You want them to not give them a reason to stop you.
And he's obviously old enough to know better. Someone told him.
But you want to give them a reason and not give them the reason to stop you.
Right, exactly.
Which is why you don't want to speed or do anything because you don't want to call any extra attention to yourself.
Listen, most black people.
Bad enough, you might be in a nice car or whatever, and they're already, so then now you don't want to give anything else. So you don't want anybody to say, oh, I think I smell something. No, you don't want anything.
I'll go further. Most black people, a majority of black people in America, I can say this confidently, make sure their cars are in tip-top shape, because we know when it's time for someone to get pulled over, 9 out of 10 times they're going to be the first one stopped. Broken taillights, their cars, again, this is just, like she mentioned, the climate that we're in. So the climate right now is kind of a little rough.
It rains all the time where you live at, but you never carry an umbrella.
Right.
You don't have any rain shoes. You just
going out there. So then you want to get wet.
You want to be muddy.
And raised in this particular climate and seeing what they see on TV and seeing what they hear and everything that has occurred, you don't know what the proper steps are.
So according to what they say, he's never seen a show. He's never heard anybody license and registration. Never.
Every cop show I've ever seen and every cop horror story I've ever seen always starts with, may I have your license and registration, please?
Well, even with that, how do you know how to drive? How does he know how to operate the vehicle? But how does he know how to operate the vehicle?
A good question. That's a very good question.
He learned it, right?
He had learned somewhere. Somebody taught him somehow. He learned some way.
He watched or something, because
even if it's osmosis, he still learned.
That's like, what's it called? Innate? Like breathing. Breathing is something you do voluntarily.
Right.
It doesn't require any thought, because if it did require thought,
it's an autonomous function.
People would be passed out in the street if breathing required thought.
That is so true. And here's the other thing that I can't give a pass on. I saw a lot of craziness on TV, but I didn't want to go out there and do it.
What was that show with those 3 guys that used to do all type of crazy stunts? It was on
Jackass?
Yes. See?
Yes, there's a show called Jackass, and I definitely wasn't going out there and do nothing they did. Give me a break. So she don't get a pass on that one. I'm sorry, no. There's no excuse for this. I understand. If anything, if he gets his bond reinstated, it's only because he has a lawyer who's articulating the thought, because he's not obviously going to say anything.
This still doesn't put a win in the sovereign citizen category, because you had to go get a lawyer.
Exactly.
So I can't count this as a win for y'all.
Someone else had to talk sense into him.
Somebody else had to talk.
Get a lawyer, because he wasn't going to do it.
Someone else had to talk.
Get your lawyer, and that's why so again. He still doesn't win.
Probably the same person that was screaming on him about him not having a license. I guarantee.
Even if he beats this case, it won't be because he's a sovereign citizen, because he had a lawyer that fought and was able to win because of her arguments.
I was trained from when I was grown up what you do. I'm not saying that what he did was right or wrong. I'm not saying that how he reacted to this particular court, it is wrong. However, I'm employing upon the court to ask the court to take into a little bit of consideration. Number one, from his perspective, all defendants, can't just say.
You didn't come to court all these other days.
No, he did not.
So I don't see how this could work out, because this is not his first. This is not the first appearance of this case.
He had, again, the judge just said that early in the case, he has continued to he had more than one
flagrantly disrespect.
Flagrant disregard of the law.
Yeah,
He had sat there and a whole lot of failure to appears in the court, and then he had to issue a warrant for
and
his
then
arrest.
You got caught
driving the way you was driving. So now I understand what you're saying, and I understand she has to advocate for her client. I get it, but this is a reach right here. It's a real reach.
It is, but I do see that, from what I've known from this particular case and now in talking to him, I do believe that there is a sense of sometimes they just don't know. Sometimes they just don't. So I'm asking to reinstate his PR bond. I am now on the case. What you know about me, I'm a tight attorney. I run a tight ship.
I hope her ship is not the Titanic.
Yeah, I hope that's not the ship. Yeah.
I would be shocked if he reinstates the PR bond.
Yeah, I agree.
But if you think he's going to reinstate it, put a yes or a no. If you think that.
Yeah, or leave it in the comments.
Leave it in the comments what you think is going to happen.
So, and by which of way I believe I can reach him in getting him to court and resolving this matter.
I hope she's going to pick him up, because we know he's not supposed to be out driving.
Well, we already know that he's not, and he doesn't comply and doesn't appear. So
and that her license plate is issued by the state in which
yes,
issued by a state legitimate license plate.
So let's see. Maybe she'll get him there. Maybe this was his motivation to get there.
Which is what I talked to the prosecutor about when you were on break. It's like, let's just resolve this. Let's take care of this.
I'll buy it.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, Judge.
Wow, look at that.
Reinstated the bond. Yeah.
But he didn't win, she did.
Yes.
Let's be clear.
So again,
The lawyer
got him
was able to facilitate everything.
and advocate properly for him and articulate his cause in the court of law, which he could not do.
I'm not going to do this again, though. I promise you. I don't care whoever you have. If you flake on us again, that's 3 times. It's out. I'm not going to do it again. Do you understand, Mr. Taylor? I mean, when you come to court, good things happen. When you don't show up and you continually do it, you can't expect good things to happen. Now, do you have a Texas driver's license?
Not right now.
You're not allowed to drive.
Right.
You have a bond condition and you've signed an affidavit with me today promising you're not going to drive. I don't care how you term it. Driving, traveling, however you're going to word it, whatever you do not get into the driver's seat of an automobile, a motorcycle, anything with a combustible engine where you can get on the road unless you have approval from us.
So there will be no traversing, no sailing,
No traveling.
no voyaging, no journeying,
Nope.
no sojourning,
Nope.
none of those words. No cruising, no crossing,
And nothing, especially if it has a combustible engine.
no peregrinating, no touring, no trekking in a vehicle or anything with a combustible engine. You can't get in a tractor, can't get in a plane,
Lawnmower
lawnmower,
with steering wheel. Yeah, none of it.
steering wheel. What's that? The one. Yeah, the one you drive on. Yeah, tractor. You can't get on.
Or even the other one where he stands up like
Oh, the stand up one that they use. Yeah.
what's that thing called that they have in the mall? The security uses those things.
Oh, Segway.
Segway. Yeah, a lawnmower Segway. Yes.
You can't use a Segway.
Nope. Nothing.
Do you understand? I don't care that you have to work. I don't care if you have to go to church. I don't care if you're going to a funeral. I don't care if you're going to wherever it may be. Do not drive. Do you understand? Heed this warning. You're not going to get another one. Okay, Timberly, I'll
you.
reinstate the bond.
Thank you, Your Honor. And I'll talk to her. We were going to try to talk to Chief, but it's pretty busy
I mean,
today.
I think the case is only 3 months old,
Yes.
so you've got time. You can do whatever you want.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Judge.
Because you have a lawyer, I will waive your appearance. You don't have to waste your time coming to court now, but you must stay in touch with her and she'll.
See, he don't even have to come. It's like, just have your lawyer come in. I don't
This
even,
is where, again, where if you have a lawyer, that's why sometimes these big cases, high profile, the lawyer's there with the client's not there because the judge said they don't have to appear.
yeah, but it
That's
just happened in
why
the case.
that's why your lawyer is called a mouthpiece.
Right.
He's advocating for you, and technically, yes. Well, again, criminal cases, you can't always do that because sometimes people are flight risk. But he said,
Well,
okay.
he is a flight risk because he hasn't shown up.
And he said, well, yeah, he's a flight risk, but now he has a lawyer representing him. So he said, because of that, we will let you go ahead and deal with this like that. Only because you have a lawyer.
Tell you when you got to come back to court. If she comes back and tells me she can't get a hold of you because you're playing games or you've gone AWOL or whatnot, or you get arrested for something else, all bets off. We good? I'm not asking for much, man. Really. And for future reference, when you get into a pissing match with someone with the power of arrest, you are nearly always going to lose. It's just the way it works. And as a young Black man in today's society, you got to be extra special careful because things can go really wrong really quick.
You see?
Was the judge listening to our conversation?
But you see what he said?
Was the judge listening to our conversation?
No, but you
earlier?
know what? He turned back around what the lawyer said.
Yes.
Because she's like, oh, as a Black man in America. Yes, so as a Black man in America,
Which we said earlier in the
you need
video.
to be extra special careful.
I think the judge listened to
I'm
our.
quite sure he does. He says this to a lot of people.
Yes, he does.
Unfortunately, he has to say
He
it to a lot
does.
of people.
He does. But, it still was funny to me.
And there's evidence of that over and over and over. Okay? All right. Good luck, guys.
Thank you, Young.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Judge.
Thanks for watching.
And also give us a thumbs up, like, comment, share. Subscribe to the channel, and you'll be notified of every video as they come up. And get that algorithm going and help us build this channel this year.
And make sure that you don't wind up in a what had happened situation. Boom, boom, boom.